Welcome to the Business Wisdom Podcast, where business strategist Clive Enover shares his inner business wisdom with you. Each episode is packed with his experience to help you grow and develop your own business wisdom. Join Clive as he shares his wisdom with you.
Welcome to Business Wisdom, the podcast for business owners ready to lead with clarity, confidence, and smart strategy. I'm Clive Enover, business strategist, and I help you discover clarity to engage more effectively with more of your ideal client more often. I want to talk about something that sits at the center of almost every challenge I see in business. Client clarity. Not marketing tactics, not sales scripts, not working harder. Clarity about who you really serve. Who are you really here to serve? And why that matters more than almost any other growth decision you will make. Because when client clarity is missing, decisions slow down. When client clarity is strong, decisions accelerate, and growth follows. Many in business wonder, why do growth decisions feel so hard? I work with business owners every week who are smart, experienced, and committed, yet they are stuck. They hesitate on pricing. They hesitate on hiring. They hesitate on whether to expand, narrow, change direction, or say no. Not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack certainty. And that uncertainty usually comes back to one question that hasn't been answered clearly enough. Who is this business really for? In other words, who is my ideal client? When the answer to that question is fuzzy, every growth decision becomes heavy. You start asking things like, what if we lose customers? What if this doesn't work? What if we go too far? What if we are missing an opportunity? That is not a strategy problem. That is a clarity problem. Let's be clear about something up front. Being clear about who is your ideal client is not about age, gender, industry, location, turnover, or any other of a bunch of demographic information. Those things might describe a group of people, but they do not define your ideal client. Real client clarity sits much deeper than that. It's about understanding what problem this person is trying to solve, what outcome they actually want, what frustrates them, what they value, what they are prepared to commit to, what they expect from a relationship. Until you understand those things, your business is guessing, and guessing slows growth. When client clarity is unclear, I see the same patterns over and over again. Businesses chase too many ideas, accept the wrong work, discount when they shouldn't, over-deliver to people who don't value it, underperform with people who would value more, feel busy but not productive, grow revenue without growing profit, feel exhausted rather than confident. But most importantly, they hesitate. And that is what does the most damage. Every decision feels risky because there is no anchor, no reference point, no filter. When client clarity is strong, something powerful happens. Decisions get easier, not because business gets simpler, but because the criteria is clear and known. Questions like, can we do this, don't even come up. And you begin discovering a different language that sounds a lot like, this is what we will do for our ideal client. That single shift changes everything. Let me give you some examples. With client clarity, pricing decisions become grounded. Product decisions become focused. Hiring decisions become aligned. Marketing decisions become simpler. Time decisions become intentional. Growth decisions become faster because you are no longer deciding in a vacuum. You are deciding in service of a clearly defined person and outcome. Here's something that often gets missed. Growth decisions are not purely rational. If they feel risky, it's because they are tied to fear. Fear of losing income, being judged, making the wrong move, and even fear of outgrowing what seems familiar. Client clarity reduces fear. Why? Because when you know exactly who you serve and why, you have the criteria to guide every action and therefore every decision. You know what to do and when to do it. You trust the direction and the process. You are not reacting to noise. You are responding to alignment. That is the confidence of certainty, not bravado. Certainty accelerates action. I want to be direct here. The biggest cost of unclear client focus, not knowing who your ideal client is not lost sales. It is lost momentum. I see businesses sit in the same position for years because they cannot decide. They do their tweaking and adjusting, some rebrand, then try something new, but nothing really changes because the foundation has not been addressed. Clarity is not a nice to have, it is the starting point for sustainable growth. Without it, activity increases, but progress stalls. Here's a simple way to test how clear you really are. Ask yourself these questions. Who do I want to work with? Not who will pay me. What problem am I genuinely best positioned to solve? What outcome does my ideal client actually want? Not just what I deliver. Why do they choose me, not tolerate me? What does success look like for them 12 months from now? If you cannot answer those confidently and consistently, growth decisions will remain heavy. If you can answer them, that clarity will drive momentum. Once client clarity is established, I see immediate shifts. Business owners stop chasing low-value opportunities. They start saying no without guilt or fear of loss. They price their product or service confidently and more accurately. They design products or services that fit the circumstances and which actually work. They make better hiring decisions which delivers better teams. They plan growth instead of reacting to it. And perhaps most importantly, they feel calmer. All this because clarity removes noise. It replaces uncertainty with clear, meaningful direction. I worked with a business that was selling well, but not growing. They were working hard, long hours, and constantly adjusting. Once we clarified who their ideal client actually was and who they were not, things changed quickly. We refined their offer, changed how they described what they did, adjusted the pricing to reflect the real value, and of course, they stopped trying to serve the wrong requests. Stress reduced immediately. Within months, revenue increased. Same business, same capability, different clarity. That is the leverage point. Client clarity is not a marketing task. This is important, very important. Client clarity is not a marketing task. It is a leadership decision. If you are the owner of the business, this sits with you, because your team cannot be clear if you are not. Your marketing cannot be clear if your thinking is not. Your growth cannot be intentional if your direction is uncertain. Clarity starts at the top. If you take one thing from today, let it be this. Before you make your next growth decision, stop and ask, is this aligned with the client I want to build this business around? If the answer is unclear, that is where the work is. Because clarity does not slow growth, it accelerates it. If you want support getting that clarity, this is exactly the work I do with business owners. Not tactics, not quick fixes, but clear thinking that leads to confident decisions and sustainable growth. If that sounds like the conversation you need, book a discovery session and let's explore it together. Because guessing is expensive, clarity is profitable, and growth follows clarity every time. I'm Clive Enever. Thanks for joining me on the Business Wisdom Podcast, and I'll talk with you again soon.
Thanks for joining Clive. Remember to subscribe for more business wisdom. Want to work with Clive? Book a discovery call with him at enevergroup.com.au.